All right. So new news for Hypixel, right? So Hypixel Saf has Cox released yesterday night at 10 p.m. said hello. Today we'd like to share more about one of the garden projects we've been working on the last couple months. This planned release brings a lot of new additions and changes, including an overhaul to farming tools, a bunch of new visitors, and custom crops. But in this thread, we want to focus on one particular feature, the greenhouse. And okay, that looks pretty cool. It looks like that's going to be like a one plot thing too. Yeah, right here it says the greenhouse is a new placeable plot in the garden and lets you plant water and grow crops over multiple real life hours or days, whether you're online or offline. That's kind of cool. So we can start making passive money from farming. That's actually really cool. That will be super helpful for Iron Man players. The goal is to offer a slower, more passive alternative to farming crops actively while still contributing to your garden progression, including crop milestones. Nice. Okay. Instead of spending lots of hours farming directly, you'll be able to plant out your greenhouse, water your crops, and check back later for the results. Also, it introduces new interesting content through the mutation system, but more on that below. So let's dive a bit deeper on how the greenhouse will work in the garden. Now this is interesting. Mutation system. So this is interesting. So they're already breeding the greenhouse, but then they're stacking another system on top of it. So this is interesting. Like, are we going to get like a hot of the garden type thing with this? Like, it's gonna be interesting what they do with this. But moving on, unlocking. So you unlock the greenhouse at garden level 7. So pretty much anybody can get the greenhouse, where you'll meet a familiar visitor, the carpenter. Completing his offer rewards you with the greenhouse blueprint. Okay. After building it, you'll begin an intro quest that walks you through most of the basics of how the greenhouse works and how to interact with it. So on to the planting and watering. So this is inside the greenhouse, and that looks super cool. It looks like mushrooms and other crops. That looks really cool. But yeah, so they're still working on the skins and models, and they will look better than this, but that already looks cool. I already kind of am digging that. But the greenhouse is smaller than a standard garden plot, 10 by 10. Okay, but crops grown inside the greenhouse yield significantly more on harvest, but they also take longer to grow. Okay, so that would make sense. That makes sense. And then after planting, crops will require water to keep growing. To water a plant, you will need to use a watering can that sprays water in each of the soil plots and can be upgraded to increase the amount of water and area it sprays in. So it's kind of looking like, you know how like with the composter, like every now and then you got to put compost in it. It looks with the greenhouse the same kind of mechanic. Every now and then you got to put water in it. But moving on. So from there, crops will grow on their own way while you're away. Yep. The design intention is that players only need to spend a short amount of time per day on your garden deciding what to plant and how to arrange it and come back the next day to harvest them. I love that. I love that they are doing this. That is going to be amazing, because guys, we know farming is not the most fun skill. You're just sitting there and watching a show basically. So that's going to be pretty nice. And then although this process sounds fairly straightforward, there are a couple features of the greenhouse we have not yet talked about: crop effects and mutations. Yeah, I am super excited for this. So crop effects, let's start by talking about crop effects first. Each crop you plant on the greenhouse actually provides a buff to a nearby crop. For example, wheat grants harvest boost to nearby crops, granting them 20% increased yield when harvested. Okay, so I don't know if I'm going to like crop effects. I already know I don't know if I'm gonna like crop effects. It might be annoying thing like when they did with pests, how like the pest would affect crops as well. I don't know if I'm gonna like these yet. I mean, we'll see. It's adding more stuff for people to have to understand to be able to play this game. I don't know if I'm gonna like that. If they make it super complicated, I don't think I'm gonna like that. But I mean, obviously we're gonna have to wait and see what they actually do with that. But each crop has its own unique buff that applies to the crops. Some even can provide multiple buffs. Other crops can even apply negative buffs to nearby crops, but they also have stronger versions of positive buffs as well. Okay. So the netherworts, for example, applies improved harvest boost and XP lost. Yeah, I don't like that. I already don't like that, but whatever. As you can see, stronger buffs usually come with certain drawbacks, so you have to think about which crops you want to place next to each other. Other interesting buffs including immunity, removing negative effects from nearby crops, or even a buff spreading is currently held buffs to other nearby crops. As you can see, the crop effect system can be quite intricate, allowing you to strategize how you want to plant your crops in the greenhouse to achieve your optimal result. Yeah, see the intricate part, guys. When Hypixel makes things difficult for people to understand, it makes new players especially not want to play the game, because a lot of people, when they play a game, they just want to play it for fun, and there is a grind aspect to Hypixel, but then when there's an understanding aspect to it as well, people don't have time for that. People don't have time to be like learning that much stuff. So I don't know how intricate the craft effect system is going to be, but if it's super intricate and super confusing, I think it's going to piss some people off. But anyways, moving on to mutations. So now let's talk about another feature part of the greenhouse, mutation. So I am excited about this. When specific crops are arranged around an empty soil plot, the plot has a chance to spread a new mutated crop. There are 30 plus different mutations. Jeez, 30 plus, guys. 30 plus different mutations we're gonna have to learn about, each with unique requirements and their own growth mechanics. Yeah, so this is the thing. When they came out with that foraging update and they had all those different shards that everyone had to learn, this is the stuff I'm talking about. They're just throwing too much at once, you know. Maybe if they did like 10 different mutations and then stacked on that later, you know, they don't need to throw so much content into one update, because then it confuses people. It confuses the fuck out of people. But anyways, mutations stack and build on each other, unlocking more intricate mutations as you progress through the mutation tree. For example, let's showcase one of these mutations. So I don't know what this is supposed to be, but it looks like grass is, I don't know. They said they're still working on the models, so they might look cleaner later on, but okay. Here you can see, okay, it's the dust grain mutation surrounded by 4 wheat, which is the requirement for it to spread to the middle plot. Whether it actually spreads onto the middle plot depends on the growth cycle, which triggers every few hours in the greenhouse and updates all crops and mutations simultaneously. Okay, so another thing I want to speak on with this 30 plus different mutations. So I'm guessing mutations are a way we're going to, a different crop, we're going to be able to make money. We're going to have to figure out of 30 plus different mutations, which crop is the best way to make money. That's going to be really overwhelming at the start, at least. For me, I will have fun with it, but I'm kind of thinking in the eyes of new people or people that already don't like farming, if they have to learn so much more other stuff to it, that's a lot. Again, I don't know how it's going to look when the update actually comes out, but looking at this now, I don't really know how I feel about that. But okay, let's go skip to the future plans for the garden. So we're interested to see what you guys think about the greenhouse, and if it's something worth expanding upon the garden, as it provides a new path to progress inside the garden, allowing players to both have the option to choose whether or not you are most interested in active or passive farming in the greenhouse is one of the goals we are aiming for. At this stage, we're still experimenting with the right balance of the different playstyles might be and how that would look in the future, but for now, both of them will have certain exclusive items or features you might not find in the other, but that might change. Okay, so they're still figuring out how they want to make the garden update. So that tells me that Hypixel's doing a good job of trying to figure out ways to make a good update. They're not just saying, hey, here's an update. You know, they are actually trying, and they actually do want feedback, and they want to know what people think. So that is good on them. And then after the release of part 2, we'll likely take a break from the garden to focus on other content. In the future, we would like to expand on the garden's newest Minecraft version and the husbandry related content, allowing you to feed, breed, and farm animals that you hold on the garden. Now that is super cool. Husbandry related content allowing you to feed, breed, and farm animals that you hold on the garden. That is huge, because every farm, guys, if you think of real life, every farm, what do they have? They have livestock. Having a way where we make money from feeding and breeding and farming animals, that would be a cool mechanic to add. That would be really cool. But the last thing, crop milestones. Even with the addition of the greenhouse, we felt that current crop milestones, especially in the later stages, are still too high, which is why we are planning to cut down crop milestones further by a whopping 68%. Love that. I love that. Crop milestones are crazy annoying. I love that. A lot of Iron Man players and people that are grinding for X like Skyblock levels are gonna love that. That is awesome. We think that with the combination of the greenhouse and this nerf, crop milestones should be a lot more achievable for more players and no longer be a massive grind as it is right now. This nerf will take place when we release the greenhouse, currently planned to release this year. Jeez, that is soon, guys. We only have like a couple more months in the year, 3 more months in the year. That is pretty soon. We want to give players a heads up now so they can plan accordingly. More details will follow with it in alpha. Okay, I mean, thoughts, right? I think this is super cool. I think it's super cool that they're trying to do something with the garden that will actually bring people to the garden long term, you know, not like with the pest update. I felt like it was just kind of whatever update. People didn't really stay in the garden, but that is kind of cool. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what they actually do, but you know, I would say I would give this without seeing the update yet, I would give this 6.5, maybe 7 out of 10. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see when it comes out in the alpha and then eventually on the server what it's looking like. But yeah, pretty cool update.